Live Park is all about making the park a great place to live, invest, visit and experience. There's generally a perception that national parks aren't necessarily a place for development, they're a place for conservation. But actually, we've got a number of towns and villages where there are opportunities for development, where communities are in need for better services, more homes, workshops for local businesses. We do have a community appetite for that within the national park. Well, the main focus for us is to really support and promote development opportunities within our towns and villages, but also really recognise the role that the rural area has in terms of diversification from rural businesses or estates, tourism opportunities. And so through this process, we're seeking to make our policies more flexible, where we could, to really show that the park has really got a great amount of potential for development. And we've seen a great rise in planning applications over this year, since the economic downturn, for example. So a range of planning applications, but the local economy seems to be, on the up.
I think the National Park is an organisation that's always willing to try new things. In fact, we set that out as one of the principles for Live Park when we began. But back in 2011, the National Park took part in the charrette mainstreaming process. So we really wanted to continue the good work we'd done there and challenging the traditional way that planning engagement is done, and to make sure at the Live Park main issues report stage we got as many people involved in the process as possible to maximise the number of issues, opportunities, ideas that we thrashed out with the communities before taking it to the next stage. So we tried different approaches to engaging to the traditional. So we always did. We continued to do the traditional approach. We worked with community councils, we had meetings. But equally, what we tried to do was test out some other things. So we wondered about using text facilities to allow people who've got bad broadband, for example, to be able to contribute remotely. We went out to the communities. We went to the gala days that they were happening. We engaged with schools. We loved the primary schools that we worked with, loved the Lego activity where the children got a sense of actually what does it mean to create the future of your park, because remember this plan's got a 20-year vision. We really wanted to break down the barriers and making the document accessible and making planning more accessible and engaging and open was something that we really tried hard to do. So we created a little series of YouTube videos about demystifying planning, where we took some of the planning buzzwords that are commonly used and explained them in simple terms to people so it was non-intimidating, non-threatening. From the main issues report for Live Park, we made a conscious effort to really make the document as accessible as possible, whether that was using aerial maps with simple annotation on them, clear layout of information, absolutely zero jargon, recognising that this was a document that everybody from specialists to the community were having to read, and why should we make it intimidating, why should we make it non-accessible? Actually, it's about explaining it in simple terms so that as many people as possible engaged in the process. We are trying to make planning funky here. I think we've done that. We're delighted with the approach, and we're great to hear feedback from people who were reading the document that they found it easy to read, easy to understand and accessible.
It's been very, very easy to be engaged and feel part of the process. For myself as a touring musician, I'm often out the country in the States or in Europe or even just down south. So an awful lot of the social media and online web stuff, the blogs and everything, when we've not been around to be able to go to meetings, they've really helped fill in the gaps.
I think the whole process, I think the way it was done was just wonderful. I think the fact that the people were consulted, but there was follow-up, and there was a number of follow-up sessions, and I think the pupils felt that they were being listened to, because when the planners come back the second time, it was the ideas that the pupils had suggested.
Live Park, it really did interact with the community. The charrette has made a big difference to Callander for the long-term future of the town. And the big difference is that we're a rural community. We're very much based on tourism. We have an elderly population, but there are lots of young people here. That the problem with the young people is opportunities for them to have careers in the town. Most of them want to stay here, but what is the future for them? So we've involved the young people in all of this. Some really, really good ideas coming from the young people. So we've developed what we think is a sustainable community. In 10 years, 20 years, 30 years time, we still expect it to be developing, to be one of the best rural communities in Scotland. And we'll be keeping our young population here. They're the ones of the future. They're the ones who'll be running the town, and they'll be the ones we hope will be proud of what we've done in the last 5 years.
So for the Life Park engagement plan, there was really one principle at the heart of that, and that principle is at the heart of good service design, it's at the heart of good social marketing, and it's of course at the heart of good planning, and that is simply to put people first. If you understand your audience, if you see the world through their eyes, if you design the process for them, then you have a far greater chance of engaging them in the process rather than seeing it from your own perspective.
This has really been a transformational project at the National Park Authority. It's changed the way we engage with our communities in terms of planning, but also the way we approach projects internally, in terms of the way we work across teams, but also changing the way in terms of how we communicate our wider planning responsibilities, how we deal with planning applications. So it's changing a number of different ways, but key to this is putting the user, the customer, at the centre of how you design processes and make decisions ultimately.